Connor, my oldest, our oldest, he's a genius, I think, sometimes. Brilliant, creative, a capacious mind. He scored a nearly perfect score on his college entrance exam in high school while he was in a major depression. While he was in a major depression. He had suffered sexual abuse at the age of 13 on our watch with a 19-year-old woman babysitter. And when he revealed this at 16 and a half years of age, his behavior became self-destructive and it went downhill. Suicidal ideation. He was hospitalized. We tried every therapy possible to the point where our therapist said, you might want to have him escorted out. Like, well, what do you mean escorted? Well, they're emotional growth programs for kids that get really off the rails, so to speak. I'm like, okay. Well, what is this program like? Well, it's called Second Nature. It's daily therapy, group therapy, a professional. I said, okay. So what do we do with this escort? We're going to call somebody. You call John Hayward. I said, okay, I'll call John Hayward. Hi, John, Mike Lauesen. Yes. I understand you are an escort for kids going to emotional growth programs. We're considering Second Nature. He said, oh, I know that program. I said, well, how many times have you been there? He says, I've lost track. I said, how many times have you done this? He says, over 100. Well, I said, you're hired. Barbara and the girls stayed at a friend's lake house Memorial Day weekend. That was going to be the weekend. Now I had a secret. Only Barbara and I had this secret. We're the only ones who knew, other than the educational consultant and John Hayward. The morning came at 4:30 in the morning. Headlights came. It was dark. I opened the door. The Incredible Hulk walked in. He was the largest human being I'd ever seen. He shook my hand. Hi, I'm John Hayward. I said, hi, John. Mike Lauesen here. Then he introduced me to Trevor. Now, Trevor couldn't fit through the door hardly. He was going like this. He was so wide. He could have played middle linebacker for the Chicago Bears, Tom. It was unbelievable how big he was. Where's Connor? I said, well, he's sleeping. Go wake him up. So we go up to his room. They're at the threshold of the door, and I wake Connor up. It's 4:30 in the morning. I said, Connor, remember we talked about those outward bound programs? He goes, yeah. And I go, well, John and Trevor are here to get you there. So he looks up and he says, hi, boys, and puts his head back down. Yeah. He's half asleep. That's when John said, you can go now, Mr. Lauesen. And I drove to the lakefront, and I cried my eyes out. I cried over the fear of what we were doing, the giving up, the letting go, so hard. I was overwhelmed with sadness, with despair. Were we doing the right thing? Well, I'm happy to tell you. Connor fully engaged in the program. And last weekend, Barbara and I were at Stanford University, where Connor did a colloquium, a talk on his dissertation for his PhD in art history from Stanford University. So he recovered. Now, people ask me, would you ever regret sending him to that program? It seemed so extreme. I said, no, I think it saved his life. What I do regret is I didn't pay attention enough. I didn't pay attention enough to what happened in my home.